So welcome to the third edition of the Sage Media Solutions series, where we interview some of the top coaches in the PSAL 4A division. And of course, Brooklyn is the top division, and we have one of the most historic coaches in the PSAL history, honestly. 24 years coaching the Rail Splitters, 3 PSAL championships, 4 undefeated seasons. Coach Sean O'Connor, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I mean, 24 years, what drives you, and you've won everything in this league. What drives you to keep going?
The kids every year, they're different. They come with their own stories. I really love the off season, building up these kids, seeing how they, come in as freshmen to their senior year and seeing the difference of their maturity level, not only on the field, but more importantly off the field, in the hallways, and listen to the teachers talk about them. So that's number one thing that drives me. Number two, I played high school football in New York City. Been here a long time, as you mentioned, and this is the best part of my day. I'm assistant principal in Lincoln High School, and got a lot going on during the day. But the most enjoyable part of my day is when I walk out to the field and see those, see the field, see the kids ready, and let's get to work.
So what has changed in Lincoln since you've been here? We're in this beautiful new weight room. So what have you seen in the school and how the program has grown since you first got here? And was it 2004? Was it?
Well, 2000.
2000, yeah.
2000. Well, I came here as assistant coach, and Lincoln had a very good tradition prior to me getting here as assistant coach. But then there was a couple down years, and the tryout rate dropped. Kids, we always had a great sports and athletic program with basketball, and so I started out as a head coach, standing by the basketball team and getting the kids who didn't make the teams.
You said it right outside of the tryouts?
Right outside the tryouts. Everybody thought they were Jesus Shuttleworth from He Got Game, where the movie was shot about Lincoln High School.
Yeah.
And I started getting the guys who didn't make the team, and get them to play. And my first big-time recruit was Nyam Boateng, who went to the Florida Gators and played for the New York Giants. And then that was a big breakthrough for us because it showed other kids in this building, because this was traditionally a basketball area, that if you play basketball and football, there's other avenues and a lot more scholarships into football. So that helped us get a lot more kids. So we have a big roster now. For my first years, when we had 22 kids to 56 now. So we have kids that are coming here and taking it serious, not just to play in season, but work out all year, do homework together. We just don't see them in August. They're here all year.
And just talk about that challenge. Of course, New York City is, the mecca of basketball. There are some, large programs that, have huge basketball teams, and, their football teams, they want to, break that mantra that I'm just a basketball school. Right. So you literally did it. So talk about how.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. And there were a lot of teams in New York City now that we've proven that this is a really great place to find athletes that are just not athletes, that are football players. So other schools are doing a great job of that as well. That was the thing. You just didn't want kids to come and join the team and just be an athlete like playing basketball on grass. They had to understand that they're going against other athletes around the country that know the game. So you have to teach them the game. So it was important to get them in as freshmen. And then our Little League and Pop Warner, footballs, the younger youth football programs, they've done a good job as well as getting some of these kids prepared before they get to us.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you've coached some incredible athletes. I'm just going to shout out a few of them. Luis Rodriguez, your quarterback, 2-time PSAL champion. Thomas Holly went on to be a Florida Gator. And Wayne Williams, Syracuse was Wayne? Syracuse was Wayne. So, and that's just scratching the surface of the athletes you've coached. So just talk about, and especially for the younger people, what really separates, what separated your best athletes from the average athlete, and what can the current squad learn from, some of the alumni?
Well, a lot of those guys that you mentioned were great guys, and we've had some other ones, as you mentioned, as well. But what separated them was they, as a leader, when you're the vocal guy, that's great. But when you're the vocal guy and you're the physical guy that does the leadership as well, that's what separates some of those guys you mentioned to some of the other guys, where they were the first guys in the weight room, the last guys out of the weight room, willing to do whatever it takes. We have our most recent graduate, Israel Banaconda, who's playing for the New York Jets right now, went to the University of Pitt, and broke Tony Dorsett's record for 6 touchdowns in one game.
Crazy.
And he was back here most recently for a showcase, a camp, Elite 5 camp, to be the main speaker. And I'm telling the kids to help us clean up, and he's over there picking up the stuff, the cones. And here, an NFL player, and he's come volunteering his time. And, so guys like that lead by example is what separates them. And what I'm really proud of, that they all come back they always come back to the school, they come back to the weight room, the field, to talk to the kids, especially around Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's a special time of the year. If you're still lucky to be around semifinals, championships, and we've been practicing on those dates, we talk to our kids to get to that date, and a lot of these alumni come back to watch the practice and speak to the kids. So, those guys are definitely come back, give back, and we're different.
And I think that really resonates with me too, because of course it's easy to have an ego. You're one of the top athletes on the team, one of the best athletes. You're the number one name on the team sheet. Coach is gonna pick me. You might think that picking up the cones might be beneath you, right? But that shows so much character, especially from someone who's in the NFL, come back to his old field and to pick up those cones. So that really resonates with me. Another thing that resonated with me, I was, of course, doing some research. And it wasn't the first, and it's crazy because it wasn't the first time I've seen this video, honestly. It's an old YouTube video from your 2014 season when you guys were getting ready to play E-Hall. You guys were undefeated. So was E-Hall. E-Hall had Curtis Samuel. You guys had Thomas Holly, and I'm sure other tremendous players. And I just remember a moment when you were in the locker room and you're just talking about the moment. It's a homecoming for you guys, and tremendous camera work. I should have wrote it down so I can shout out who did the camera work. But it flashes to a player and he's literally in tears as because of the intensity of that night and everything like that. So just a simple question: is E-Hall Lincoln the biggest ticket in New York City?
I remember when we talked about that, was Adam Salazar, and Jassi Mead was the player who actually came back and coached.
No
on
way,
staff.
are you serious?
Yeah,
he was a player crying.
He was crying, defensive back. That was a guy.
I can't. By the way, I don't even want to call it crying. It was just, we've been football players before. It's just so intense, and you're just so ready to get out there, and it gave me goosebumps. I'm not even gonna lie.
Well, listen, everybody has their team to get over, and everybody has that team. There are a lot of great teams in the league that we certainly have rivals with, Tonville and Curtis.
Yeah.
And Erasmus, obviously being in Brooklyn, makes it even a bigger game because both schools need each other. There would be no Lincoln without Erasmus. I don't believe there would be an Erasmus without Lincoln, because we need that competition to push each other and motivate to have that marked on the calendar. So our boys know a lot of the kids on the team. A lot of them are from the similar areas and played Pop Warner or youth football with each other. And that was a tremendous game here at Lincoln. The bleachers that we have outside is it is the biggest bleachers in the city. And there was a line out around the block. It was a tremendous atmosphere. Two high caliber teams, two big recruits, Curtis Samuel going to Ohio State, Thomas Holly going to the University of Florida, big time colleges. It was bigger atmosphere. It made the championship game seem very small that year at Yankee Stadium. I got to be honest with you, but Erasmus Lincoln is certainly a really great level of game that goes back for a long time.
And the thing I love too is, Holly is walking in the handshake line, and he sees Curtis like, "Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to Ohio State."
They did, yeah. They went.
Blows my mind.
They did take a visit. They took a visit at the point. Yeah, that's how these kids are. And that's great, and that's a great thing too about the Erasmus Lincoln rival, that we could during the game, be rivals, and then afterwards.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of times I get myself nervous the way the kids. I was like, oh boy, these kids, and then you realize that they're taking pictures, with each other afterwards. And the week leading up is definitely stressful. Social media is leaked into the rival as well.
No, absolutely. So just talk about what makes, Friday Night Lights in Coney Island so special.
I mean, a lot of teams have got lights now, but we were the first team in Brooklyn, not the first team in the PSAL. But
wow.
when you go to Texas, which is obviously known for football, you go see a game, and as aforementioned about the stands and the people coming and showcase. We feel that it's helpful to our kids and other kids in the PSAL as well to get fans out to the game, and media to cover it like yourself, a Friday night game, and showcase their talent. But in Texas, those stadiums are in rural areas. They're empty. What's great about Lincoln High School, here it is a field, lights, just like those stadiums, I believe, with big buildings surrounding it, giving it a New York City, Brooklyn feel. And so the Coney Island people come out, the neighborhood people come out, they're out their windows. We'll kick a ball over the fence for extra point. We can't get it back sometimes. But it's become a tremendous atmosphere here for Friday Night Lights in Coney Island.
And you guys are getting a brand new field now, new turf and everything like that. So that's just going to add to the atmosphere, which is already one of the best atmospheres in all of the PSAL, all of New York City, I should honestly say.
Thank you.
So, of course, I have to talk about the past season where, you guys were absolutely one of the most exciting, most dangerous teams. You made it all the way to the semifinals. You had a star quarterback, Nassim Days, excuse me. He's now at Bethune-Cookman. So just talk about how would you summarize last season? Of course, it didn't end in the championship. I'm sure you have high standards here at Lincoln, but you guys did make it all the way to the Final Four. And just talk about Dees and how good of a player and a leader he was.
Yeah, last year was the first year that I felt that we really felt like we were out of the pre-COVID group, because we had a full off season in the weight room leading up to that. And so it really felt good, real. The year before we lost in the semifinals as well, but we only had 4 wins. We ended up being 9-3 last year, and Nassim is definitely a major part of that. He's a tremendous athlete who was dangerous with the ball in his hands, whether he could throw it or run it. He was a track star as well. So it made it hard for him to, other teams to defend him. He led by his work ethic. He's one of those guys that we mentioned about before, where he would be in the weight room in the beginning and afterwards, and doing the extra work after that as well. A scholar, honors student, graduated early. So he had a couple of Division I scholarship offers, went on a visit to Bethune, felt like that was his place to be. By the way, he'll be fighting against another Lincoln quarterback, Talik Bethea, who's
you have 2 guys over there?
Yeah, so it's going to be a Lincoln competition at quarterback. Talik is a graduated senior, he's a graduate student. So he started last year for them, and Nassim is going to go down there and try to knock him out. I don't know, I'm rooting for both of them, we'll see. But so 2 Lincoln quarterbacks at Bethune pushing each other is great. Talik came back this offseason and worked out with Nassim on the side, throwing to our receivers on this year's team. That was something special. But Nassim did a really tremendous job. The seniors did. I mean, we had 17 seniors on the team last year.
Big senior class.
Yeah. Well, we averaged around 20 or so, but
okay.
All of them are graduating. 11 of them are signed on to play college. Not all scholarships.
11, wow.
Yeah, but to move forward, it was a tremendous group of seniors. They really did a great job in the classroom as well as on the field. We came up short against Tottenville in the semifinals, but they did a tremendous job of not only just getting us to the semifinals, but showing what the next steps and how to get to the next steps.
Yeah, I mean, speaking more about Nassim, in that shootout against Curtis, 47-40. I mean, we have it as 302 yards, 5 touchdowns. I've personally seen him throw with my own eyes many a times. I remember I saw a scrimmage. He was on maybe your 40-yard line or something like that. He's rolling out to the left, throws it into the back, the right, like the opposite corner of the end zone. I'm just like, what is it? It's unreal.
Strong arm. I'm not going to compare him to Patrick Mahomes, but he's able to do that type of stuff where he can throw unconventional throws with a strong arm. Where, as a coach, you're pulling your hair out because he's not doing the traditional.
He's one of those, no. Oh, okay.
Yes, exactly. So you just let him go sometimes. And he has strong arm skill, very skilled player.
How do you replace a quarterback like that? What are the plans at quarterback?
Well, you got to replace him with on the offensive side with a full team, because we have 4 of our 5 starting offensive line coming back.
Ooh.
With 2 very good running backs. Kyan Filbert, who's been a starter for us for 3 years. Next year will be his 4th year.
Wow, he's been starting since a freshman.
I'm sorry, 3 years.
He's been starting since a sophomore.
Yes. I apologize. Yes, as a sophomore. And Cody Gillespie, who's another big, powerful. These 2 are big, powerful running backs. And we have another running back, Devontae Polius, and Christian Young, who are more flashy, fast, with the 4 returning offensive linemen, Caleb Houston, Emmanuel Frosto, Travis Prophet, and Omar Joseph. We feel that's kind of, we'll be looking different, we feel. We'll be a different player, a team, offensively. We do have 2 quarterbacks fighting for the job. One is a younger kid, Christian Borghi. He's a sophomore. We have a transfer from Eagle, Corey Reese, who's come in, and he's battling it out with them too right now. We have those two can also very good athletic. They both complement each other well. They can run and throw, but having a powerful offensive line, we got to replace them with all those guys. That's how we're replacing that team.
I love that. And just to speak on Cayenne, there was a play, it got called back in the Tottenville semifinal game where, I think he got the ball, hit on the right of the quarterback, gets it to the left, cuts right, sees the lane, cuts back left up the sideline, gets called back for a holding penalty. But I just saw the vision in the football, because he's not a small guy.
He's a big running back. He's a powerful runner.
He's quick.
He's quick. He's worked hard in the offseason. Earl Campbell comes to mind for me. I'm dating myself because he's a power runner, but he does have some breakaway speed, and he has great vision.
No, absolutely. So, of course, you touched on it a bit, but, the Tottenville rivalry you have. And it's kind of funny because you say, it's got to be hard for you to name your rivals. It's almost like, who's the flavor of the week this year, right? But obviously, you and Tottenville, huge back and forth. You guys had one of these signature wins of the season, going to Staten Island and winning 13-7. Cayenne had 18 carries for, I think it was about a little over 100 yards. Tremendous effort. I know you guys were winning in that game early. Tottenville came back late, but was able to hold on in that game. And the semifinals was a little different, unfortunately. And, when I watched that game back, it was my first time watching it last night, actually. And, I see it's 15-15 after the first quarter. They score. I think they get a stop, and they get the ball back towards the end of the half. I'm sorry to bring back terrible memories. I can't imagine.
It's still in my brain.
I mean, to get the interception, you're thinking we're going to get the ball, bring this close, maybe score, maybe a one-score game. Unfortunate fumble. It's just one of the most bizarre plays I've ever seen, honestly. And it kind of seemed like, the team couldn't really come back after that. So just talk about, more in detail, the rivalry in general versus Tottenville in that game, because and of course in that game as well, 318 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns for Tottenville on the ground. So just talk about that game in more detail from your standpoint.
Well, ironically, so that particular fumble, Jaden Bernard first was interception. He drops back, he catches the ball, gets hit. The ball's in the air. It gets picked off by the fastest guy in New York State, Corey Brown, the freshman running back.
Touchdown, Corey Brown.
Yeah, and of all guys' hands it goes into is his, and he picks it off in the air, and then momentum swings. So momentum. That's where we got to become more experienced as a team to overcome that, because the game was very close, and that certainly was a momentum change, but we weren't able to recover, as you said, from that and come out and believe that we're still in this game. I mean, the Tottenville-Lincoln rivalry is if you look back the last 8 years in the playoffs, in the seasons, we faced each other 8 years in the playoffs. So when it's something, because 2022 they beat us the first game, and then we knocked them out of the playoffs. And then last year it was the reverse. And it goes that way for quite a few years. So when we won the first game, Coach Neville, we shake hands, and I said, I'm not happy about this win. He says, I am, because he knew we'd be seeing each other again. And the first Coach Munson, who him and I were great friends. We went to school together. We beat them in the Yankee Stadium in a championship game. And Tottenville, Curtis, Erasmus, we know that that's the top 4 teams traditionally in the PSAL for the past few years. We're going to see 1 or 2 of them every year, twice. And that's what it seems to be like. It's been Tottenville for the past few years, and it's been battles. It's been battles. It's been up and downs, for both teams.
No, absolutely, and it's without a question that's definitely the top 4 teams. Of course, we're going to talk about your upcoming schedule. And when I look at your schedule, it was very interesting because you open up with Canarsie on the road, then you host Port Richmond, and then I look at it, 3 games on the road, 3 games home. Do you like that or no?
I like that we end. It's a tough question for coach, because I would love to play every game home, but I think it's set up nicely for us because the competition is spread out. There's a lot of good games. It's nice to be on the road and experience some long trips. We're going to the Bronx and playing Clinton and Tottenville, which is really far out. Although it seems like we're playing Tottenville at Tottenville every year.
Yeah, wait, I just realized that is a repeat. They should have.
Yeah,
You
I don't
probably
know.
should have got the home game this year.
Well, whatever. You know what? It's we're used to it, so it's good experiences for the kids too. To travel and see it. But I mean, I like our schedule. We, obviously we'll take 1 week at a time, but it's really spread out. There's a lot of good teams. Up at Canarsie week 1. Canarsie is a well-coached team, a good program that's traditionally, been there. So we got to work cut out us for week 1.
And Coach, we're getting close to wrapping up. I just have to ask, how hard is it being like on top? Let's say, Lincoln is a program everyone is gunning for, right? We come to Lincoln, we're going to give it our best effort. We want to beat Lincoln. We want to knock them off their pedestal. How is the pressure of, leading such a program like that?
Well, you know what? It's definitely different. We told when we got to that point, it was a lot easier to be the person chasing and down below and working harder. So what we developed here at Lincoln High School is that practice week has got to be harder than the game, and you can't really worry about your opponent. You got to consider that when you come out of those practices that you're ready because you worked harder during the week, and whoever the opponent is, whether it be Canarsie week 1 or Erasmus week 8. It doesn't matter. It's Lincoln. It's Lincoln versus Lincoln, and we practice that way. So, and that helps us. All off season we train that way as well. It's all about Lincoln, how we could take the next step. How do we move ourselves from a 8 seed to a 4 seed to a 2 seed to a 1 seed to be the only one standing.
And to talk about Erasmus, I don't remember the last time they lost within the PSAL, 5 in a row. You guys are definitely one of the top challengers. How do you close the gap?
Well, you can't make mistakes. You can't make mistakes. They always seem to capitalize mistakes. We 2 years ago, we had them in semifinals. Not had them, but we had the ball first. We drive right down the field. Nasim's junior year in semifinals. We drive right. We get down the field on them to the 1 yard line, first and goal. We don't score down there, and we turn it. We have bad snap and offsides. I can repeat every 4 plays to you, and you can't have that against Erasmus. You have to play. You got to play a perfect game almost because they capitalize on mistakes.
Absolutely. So, Coach, last question, very simple. What is a successful season for the Rail Splitters in 2024?
Great question. We always live on getting to Thanksgiving. So
getting to Thanksgiving.
Getting to Thanksgiving. So I haven't looked at the playoff format. I think that's the championship game or it's the semifinals. I'm not sure. But we always talk about getting to Thanksgiving, being the team standing out there practicing. That's a successful season. And then obviously, which happened last week, watching every senior walk down the aisle and graduate, come across the stage, receive their diploma. And for 2 reasons, Thanksgiving, of course, because when you're standing at Thanksgiving, that means you're in the semis or championships, and you get to share the moments and memories with the previous teams. So you've reached the bar that other teams have set.
Coach O'Connell, it was a pleasure.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Stay tuned for next one.